Oh, I thought I was gonna get the box. I felt like I was gonna get the box. Anyway, because like it looked like it was box mode, but it wasn't. Anyway, real YouTube is as type. Wait, what was it gonna be? Real YouTube is ask questions, then they answer those questions themselves. Hello, it's me, Adele. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the backstory, okay? Because today's video is going to be pretty fun, I think. I was on Twitter, and I saw, from some of the people that I follow in Melee, this image. This is the image that I saw with my eyes. So, basically, here's the premise. Let me see, my face cam is blocking some of it. Hang on. So, I'll fix this in a second. 8 options here, basically. Basically, the premise is you can take some kind of, a magic pill or food or whatever. Like, you basically get one broken ability at some point, if you choose to take one of these things. And people were discussing which of these would actually be the most broken. Now, this is Melee specific. I'm not, not a Melee player, so, I can't answer this question for Melee, but I really like the concept, right? Like, a bunch of different things that are for the most, like, that are all universally good, right? Maybe not universally good, but are all, like, buffs in some way, right? Like, reaction team speeding up, you can become the best player in the world at a character. Obviously, for some players, that might be a nerf, but for the most part, for the average person reading this, these are all going to be relatively good things, right? Being able to practice more efficiently, stuff like this. And so there was a lot of discussion, as far as I could tell, in the Melee community about this kind of question. And I thought it was a really cool idea, so I made my own for Pokemon. So here's the 8 options that I chose, and there was a couple that I left off, but yeah. I also want to say thank you to Ipengu for helping me make this, because we were on call, we were working on something, and I was like, I don't know how to do this, and he was like, I will help you. So thank you to Zane. Anyway, here's the pills I came up with, and we're going to talk about which ones I think are really strong and which ones I think are kind of baits, in my opinion. So it's just a hypothetical, but I think it is fun, and I'm curious about, like, which of these is actually, like which of these is actually the strongest and what most people think, because I know what I think, but yeah. Okay, let's go in order. Number 1, yellow. Your opponents cannot use Ally Switch. Ally Switch is a very controversial, contentious Ferrari move for the past few years. Basically, it was introduced in Generation 5 back in 2011. However, the only user was Behem, and over the years in Generation 5 and Generation 6, it didn't really have much distribution. This changed in Generation 7 when they gave it to a ton of Pokemon, and so all of a sudden, pretty much any Psychic type and a lot of other non-Psychic types as well could learn Ally Switch. The distribution improved significantly, so you'd have to worry about Ally Switch on Pokemon like Cresselia. However, although it was problematic, and although it did have some use, it wasn't, it didn't feel as used, at least as far as I can recall, as it does in 2020, where there's a lot of good Ally Switch users, namely Dusclops has been one of the main ones, but a lot of Pokemon can use it. We've seen Ally Switch Dragapult. I played against Ally Switch Porygon 2 in tournament. Ally Switch in DD has been used, though that's sometimes within prison. But yeah, Ally Switch Togekiss has been used sometimes. Basically, it's a move that it's frustrating to play against because like until the opponent has revealed it, it's really hard to and oftentimes it's difficult to cover for, and yeah, it's a move that just feels very much like you're just gonna roll dice, where like you just want to play guessing games. And ideally, in good positions, if your team is built well, or like if you're in a good position, you can oftentimes cover an Ally Switch, but that's not always possible. So it's a very frustrating move to play against because it just makes every turn into a mind game. Green Pill. All your moves have 10% increased accuracy. Now, when I said this, I meant multiplicatively, because that's how Pokemon does accuracy increases. However, some people interpreted this as just raw 10%. So like, what I meant by it is if I have a 70% accurate move, you take 10% of that, and now it's 77% accurate. What some people thought it meant was that it would go up to 80%. So that's what I mean by 10% increased accuracy. It's not additive, it's multiplicative. This is interesting. It makes moves that, most of the time don't miss, like Rock Slide or Draco Meteor, pretty much 100% accurate. So your 90% and above accurate moves are buffed to 100. Certain other moves, like people have run Wide Lens on Pokemon like Venusaur, for example, to get more accurate Sleep Powders, even though it's only a 7% increase. So Pokemon like Venusaur have increased accuracy on Sleep Powder. Basically, 75% accurate moves get buffed by 7%, which is pretty nice. And 95% accurate moves never miss. This also lets you justify slightly less accurate moves. You can use those with less guilt. So maybe Focus Blast becomes more viable. Maybe Stone Edge. Like Stone Edge is almost the same accuracy as Rock Slide. It's 80%, I think. Might be 85, but I'm pretty sure it's 80. So yeah, basically some of these higher power, like higher like risk moves that have lower chances of hitting, like Hydro Pump, Fire Blast, Stone Edge, the moves like these now have 10% increased accuracy, so you can justify using them more. Blue Pill. Sleep and Freeze only last 1 turn. So Sleep has been sleep is a mechanic that lasts for 1 to 3 turns with equal probability. So you have a 1/3 chance of sleeping for only 1 turn, a 1/3 chance for sleeping for only 2 turns, and then a 1/3 chance for sleeping for all 3 turns. You're always guaranteed 1 turn of sleep, so it's a waking up after that first turn. So yeah. Freeze is a status that is more difficult to inflict, so it's not the mechanics. I don't know if everyone's familiar with, but unless it's changed, you stay frozen indefinitely, but every single time you try to attack, you have a 20% chance of falling. So you can stay frozen for 0 turns, or you can stay frozen for 10. So it's a very volatile mechanic, and we're just lucky that there's no moves that induce freeze with any kind of regularity. Orange Pill, Rock Slide. So Rock Slide is another move that also has like a bit of a history with it in VGC. It's a very powerful move. The ability to hit both Pokemon, and has a 30% chance to flinch each one that it hits, and it's currently 90% accurate. So this one, I guess, was worded a little bit confusingly. Rock Slide will only always flinch if it hits a Pokemon that is eligible of flinching. So, I mean, I guess that makes sense. But, yeah, like, so if you double miss, then, like, it should say that if Rock Slide flinches, like, hits a Pokemon that is eligible to flinch, it will always flinch at least one of them. However, it has to hit it, and it has to, be slower than it. So, yeah, but in order to balance this one, we made the accuracy 70%. As I went on with these, as we came up with more of these, I like the idea of having, like, a buff, but also, like, a negative as well. So, yeah, Rock Slide, it was known a lot for on Landorus T. There were many games that have been decided based on Scarf Landorus T and those kind of like Rock Slide, flinching a crucial Pokemon. But it's used in other Pokemon as well. Tyranitar is a big user of it. Excadrill has used it in the past, though right now it doesn't typically run it. Pokemon like that. But yeah, typically Rock and Ground types, the main one being Landorus T. But it's always seen usage in VGC for as long as I've been around, at least since 2011. So Terrakion, of course, like other Pokemon as well, use Rock Slide. It's a phenomenal move. Yeah, this one is tricky because like the ability, basically flinching a Pokemon per turn or flinching at least 1 Pokemon per turn, is amazing. But only 70% accuracy is like this one feels a little like Dark Void to me, like old Dark Void. So, yeah, Red Pill. You get to ban 1 Pokemon from each VGC format that you like, or yeah. So basically, each year you get to ban 1 Pokemon. This one is interesting. I know that some people, I like actually just made this one because I was thinking about banning Incineroar and I thought that was funny. Yeah. I think the premise of this is that you're the only one who gets to take these. So it's not like everyone takes it and then everyone battles it out. It's like, I think only one, like, and in this situation, you're like the protagonist of the story and you get to take like some magic pill that buffs your something, whatever you want. So yeah, I thought the ability to ban a Pokemon could be interesting because I just wanted to see I don't know, I was wondering like which people would choose to kind of not give themselves an advantage, but to change like a whole format. I thought that was interesting. Pink Pill. I think this is one of the ones that's least understood. You always have highest in-person resistance, but lowest resistance online. So there's two parts to this. The first part is that the second part of the thing, lowest resistance online, it doesn't really matter. There's almost no online tours that use resistance as a thing because it's a terrible, terrible system in my opinion. So, yeah. So almost no online tours will use resistance, but yeah, so that was kind of a bait for people to like make it seem worse, even though in actuality it's basically nothing. What is resistance? Because I know some people who haven't been to a live event are probably confused by this. Effectively, the way that Pokemon tournaments work we have a Swiss format, meaning, let's say, like, at the beginning of the tournament, they say, okay, we're going to play 8 or 9 or 7 or 6 rounds, or 10 rounds if you're Dallas 2020. We're going to play this many rounds, and no matter how many times you win or lose, you get to play all the rounds, as long as you don't choose to stop playing them yourself. So, even if you go 0 wins or 9 losses, you still get to play every round. However, at the end of that, and this was more prevalent back in the day, we've moved slightly away from this, but back in the day, let's say we had a top 8 cut. That wasn't always going to be clean numbers. In fact, it was very rarely clean numbers. So let's say I was 6 or 7 wins, 2 losses, and someone else was 7 wins, 2 losses, and there was 1 slot or 2 slots for 7 wins, 2 losses players. What's going to determine who gets into the top cut in that case? If we're only basically back in the day, we would take top X cuts, top 8, top 16, top 32. And nowadays we tend to, at least at Worlds, we do X2 cuts. So like 7 wins, 2 losses moves on regardless, and then maybe we have an uneven top cut size, but. Yeah. So, what's going to determine if people move on if you all have the same record? Well, the answer is resistance. It's our tie-breaking system. And resistance is basically strength of schedule. I believe you find it out by dividing the total number of all of the games your opponents won by the total number of all your opponent's games that they played, and I don't think that your match with them is factored into that. So basically, if you lose, like let's say I'm going to go 7-2, it's much better to lose around 8 and 9 rather than rounds 1 and 2, because that way, if you lose round 1 and 2, then all of your opponents will already be, like, since you play people with similar record to you, you're always going to be playing opponents with already a loss on their thing. Whereas if you're losing later into the game, then, or later into the day, then you play opponents with generally higher resistance. However, I hate resistance personally. I'm personally biased, of course. I missed top cuts twice, 2 consecutive world years, in 2014 and 2015 when I was 9th and 12th at Worlds. And if my opponents had done slightly better, or, you know, if I had done slightly better, or if I'd lost different rounds, I probably would have top cut and had a decent chance of doing well. I also I've missed, like, many top cuts on Resistance Regionals. I know, like, the ones that jump out is when I got 9th and then 12th at International cuts in 17. I've also benefited from Resistance. That's also fair to say. I top cut in 2011 and 2012, being the 6th seed both times. And some 4 and 2s missed it. So, yeah, I had good Resistance in 2012, so, and 2011. So, it give it the take it away. It's not a great system. I was really happy when we started moving towards, you know, X2, like clean cuts. That way, like, it doesn't, because resistance is out of your control. So I personally hate it. But, you know that you just have to win 7 out of your 9 games to move on. That feels like more in your control. So I really prefer more like clear, defined boundaries. Personally, that's just my personal opinion. Yeah. However, it's worth noting that Worlds does not rely on resistance anymore. Now Worlds' top cut is X2. So, even though this pill is really good for some tournaments which still use resistance, like regionals and parts of internationals, like normally the way that internationals work is like X2 through day 1 to get us to day 2 Swiss. You play 6 more rounds of Swiss, and then after that you get a top 8 cut, which then is dependent on resistance. So, yeah, so some tournaments use this, but the biggest one, Worlds, does not. So, positives and negatives there. Gray pill. Get your opponent's team sheet 5 minutes beforehand, but in a random language. And this can be any language that, you know, people currently speak. So, I think this one's a bait, personally. I'll just tell you this is going to be a low tier on the tier list. I don't think it's very good at all, is my personal opinion, because you're very, like, yeah, maybe you get a romance language or something. Like, I mean, it also depends on the person, right? If you can speak 20 languages, maybe you feel confident in this and your ability to speculate. However, like, for someone like me who can only speak English, like, yeah, I wouldn't be using this one personally. And then Black Pill is my personal favorite. You can call on Ray Rizzo, the 3-time Pokemon World Champion, to coach you at any time, but he doesn't know any Pokemon after Gen 5. This one's a wild card. It really depends on your skill level, right? Like Ray's a phenomenal player, and has really good instincts. So it's probably, and like I had this kind of as a in the Melee one, they talk about, like, the Black Pill I think talks about entering an avatar state where you can call on any retired player to coach you, like mid-set. And I had a feel like I meant this as like a mid-set kind of thing, but I mean it doesn't specify. So there you can call on him whenever. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that this one, like, it depends on, like, this is more conditional. Like, it depends on you as a player and, like, on your relative skill, I guess. But I do think it's really funny, and I do think that in general it's not going to hurt. I'm just not sure if it's going to help us help as much as some of these other ones. So, with all that being said, let's tier them. Let's go in order. So, Yellow Pill. Your opponents cannot use Ally Switch. I think this one is a bait. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this one's a bait. I actually don't think it's that strong. People are winning games even when their opponents have Ally Switch, and, like, this is just worth it, I think, if you have, like, if you just want the peace of mind, right? Like, Ally Switch isn't the only problematic move. As you can see, there's a couple other problematic things that are called out in here, like Rock Slide and Sleep. I hate Ally Switch. Like, personally, if I had the ability to just remove it from the format, I totally would, or to balance it in some way. I 100% would. Like, don't get me wrong. However, if you're going to get, like, a magic power, I don't think that Ally Switch is actually that helpful. Like, relative to some of the other things that we have on here. That's just my opinion, though. But yeah, I don't necessarily think it's actually that strong. Red Pill. You get to ban one Pokemon from each VGC format. I think this is actually low tier. Unlike some of these other pills, which, you know, only benefit, which benefit you explicitly, this one doesn't actually benefit you. In theory, like, this can make your enjoyment of a format more, like, this can make your experience of a format more enjoyable, I would say. So, like, it's not a D tier pill, like, it's not, like, actually, you know, awful, but, Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's actually that good because it doesn't explicitly benefit you. You're not giving yourself an advantage here. You're only changing the format, which is super cool, right? And, you know, maybe feeling like you had a hand in the way the metagame shaped up, or like maybe like everyone knows that you have their powers, so there's people like petitioning you and lobbying you, like, I don't know, maybe use this for like social capital. If you had this power, you could 100% use it for social capital. So maybe if that's your goal, then maybe it should be like an A or an S tier pick, but my goal is to win Pokemon games, so I don't think this one's very good personally. Yeah, because it doesn't benefit you yourself, personally. Blue pill. Oh, I went out of order. Oops, okay, well, green pill next. I don't know why I thought red was next. Why didn't I think red was next? I guess I went 1, 2, yeah, we're gonna go, like, the proper way across. Well, the way that I'm used to. All you use is 10% increased accuracy. I think this one is quite good. This is an A or an S tier pill. Yeah. Yeah. All your moves is 10% increased accuracy. This is really, really good. Like, really, really, really good. It's not, like, I don't know how much of a... I don't know if this is going to win you tournaments on its own, right? Like, if your sleep pattern is now 82% accurate, rather than 75, or now if your Draco Meteor is now 99% accurate, rather than 90, I don't know if this is going to win you games on its own, or I don't know if this is going to win you tournaments on its own. That being said, it 100% will win you games, and that's, you know, winning games is a big factor in winning tournaments. So, I do think this is a very, like, one of the best pills on here. It also opens up more options in team building, right? Like, now you can run moves like Stone Edge with more confidence, and also you, like, for example, there have been times where I've run, like, Draco Meteor and Dragon Pulse in the same Pokemon. That's not a great example, because Draco Meteor drops your special attack, and Dragon Pulse is normally when you don't want that. But, like, Dragon Pulse and Draco Meteor on the same, like, Choice or Assault Vest Pokemon has two roles, in my opinion. One of them is that you don't always have to drop your special attack, but the other is for the guaranteed, like, move that doesn't miss. And so, yeah. With that being said, like, you can now potentially on the Pokemon like those not run both of those coverage moves, or yeah, like, also Pokemon like Lapras benefit a lot. Pokemon who don't have, you know, weaker but higher accuracy alternatives, Pokemon like those benefit a lot, and you can, yeah, just in general run things with more certainty. I do think this 100% is winning you games. Like, everyone has lost a game because a move missed, and if all your moves, like, always hit, I didn't do that, obviously, because, like, people would be like, Sheer Cold Fissure, or, like, even moves like Focus Blast, you know, like, stuff like that, would be kind of broken, but, you know, having more certainty in your moves hitting, I think would be really, really strong. Pokemon, like, or attacks like Muddy Water become very powerful. Snarl never misses, Thunder Wave almost never misses, so you basically buff Thunder Wave. There's a lot of implications to this one. I think it's really strong, personally. Yeah. That's my opinion. I think this one's really strong. I don't think it's gonna win you tournaments on its own, but I do think it will do pretty well. Orange. I think orange is a bait. I'm sorry. I really think it's a bait. It's a C or a D tier pill, in my opinion. Actually, it might even be D tier. Like, the thing is that your odds of hitting both Rock Slide now are less than 50%. So let's say they have one Pokemon faster than you and one Pokemon slower than you. You'd need, like, your odds of hitting both are only 50, which means, you know, you're only on average going to hit one of them. And if you hit the faster one, then your effect does nothing. Also, Rock Slide's chances of flinching right now, it's 1 minus 0.7 times 0.7. It's 51% to flinch right now. So if you hit both targets, then you already have a 50% chance to hit. 51% chance to flinch, like, one of them. So you're not increasing your odds that much, right? And sure, you have a guarantee, like, in theory you have a guarantee, but you're really just shifting your probabilities. Like, rather than having a 70% chance to flinch, you have a 70% chance to hit. And in general, I think the chance to flinch, like, having 90 accuracy, 70 flinch is probably then 100 flinch, 70 accuracy. Maybe not better, but, like, the benefit isn't that high, because you're not going to be able to reliably use this thing, right? People don't run Focus Blast in VGC because it misses, right? And, like, the lowest moves that we've run like this are moves like Dark Void, which I believe was 80 accuracy at the time. And even that's higher, and that the benefit of that is so much greater. Whereas if you hit a Pokemon, it's out of commission for 1 to 3 turns. And you, like, if you hit both Pokemon with it, then you can put them both to sleep for 1 to 3 turns. Whereas with this condition, like, even if you hit both, if one of them is faster, then you will only flinch the other one, and yeah, like, you might not even flinch, like, you might not even hit the one you want to flinch. So I actually think this one's not very good. I think it's a bait, personally. Okay, red pill we already did. Pink pill. This is the S tier pill in my opinion. I think this one's broken. I'm personally biased. I've missed many top cuts based on resistance. But, like, resistance is something out of your control. I think I've already kind of alluded to this, so I don't need to go too in depth on it. But yeah, for anyone who hasn't played a live event, this might seem a little strange, but for live events, it's like having resistance is a big deal. And knowing, for example, that you can go 7-2 rather than 8-1, or there's going to be times where you go 6-3 and you make top cut. Like for example, at Berlin Internationals last year, I think Aaron Traylor moved on to top cut and he was 6 wins, 3 losses because his resistance was really good. If not him, I think other people, but I know he made top cut and I'm pretty sure he was 6-3, but he may have been 7-2 and I'm misremembering. But yeah, like there'll be times where you can squeak by like into top cuts that you probably shouldn't. And there were tournaments where, like, for example, where like only one person at a lower seed will get in. For example, Worlds 2015, there was only, I believe, one 5-2 who got in. Everyone else was 6-1. So I think that's correct. I'm pretty sure that's correct. So basically, like, throughout history, this, like, if I had this power and I was always number one in resistance, like, I don't know, like, I would have had 2 more chances to win the world championships, and many, many more shots at nationals and stuff like that. So this is a very powerful pill in my opinion. Like, it's super broken, and like, yeah, like this basically, it's like basically the way that I would think about this one is in certain situations, it's an extra life, right? Like in a tournament where you would otherwise be knocked out of, it can help you continue. So I think this is the best pill in the list by far. This is my personal pick. I skipped blue pill. Why? I can't go in order. Okay, blue pill. I think this is a B tier pill. I think this is a B tier pill. Is this A tier? I think it's B tier. Yeah. I think it's B tier. Like, I said sleep and freeze only last 1 turn. Freeze, like, if you're getting frozen and it's lasting for a turn, you're in bad shape regardless. And freeze isn't common enough that I would, you know, freeze is not so common that I would need to, like, that I would want to take this just to get the counterplay for it, right? So it's pretty much just, okay, I'm going to have all 1-turn sleeps. Basically saying, in general, you know, I'm sleeping for 2 turns, or, like, on average right now I'm sleeping for probably 2 turns if I'm not an idiot and my gut instinct is correct. But I'm already sleeping for 1 turn 1/3 of the time, right? So basically it's the other 66%. So basically 1/3 of the time, if I fall asleep, this pill does nothing, and 2/3 of the time, it's better for me, right? However, this is only for 1 status condition, and when you compare this to something like 10% increased accuracy across the board, I actually don't think it's as good, personally. Additionally, sleep has counterplay. That's kind of why I put Ally Switch here as well, is that there is counterplay to sleep, especially in a Dynamax format where you can just run, if you like are having trouble with sleep, you can run Lumberry, you can run Safety Goggles, you can run Max Lightning, you can run Safeguard, you can run Max Fairy. Like, there's a lot of counterplay for sleep, and even in formats where sleep is really prevalent, the biggest one for me being VGC 2016, if I'm remembering correctly, where Smeargle and Amoonguss were extremely popular. You can maybe make a case that this format is more sleep, has more sleep, but I think it was probably 16 with all the Smeargle. But anyway, even in formats like that where you know, like, sleep was super prevalent, like, there was counterplay. Like, I won Worlds with Lumberry, Safeguard, Bronzong as, you know, kind of a status counter, and, you know, Max Speed, Taunt, well, actually it was Max Speed, but Taunt, Mega Gengar to trap Pokemon like Smeargle and Amoonguss on the field. So there is counterplay to sleep, and even in formats where sleep is really big, you can find counterplay to it. And with the introduction of the Tapus in Generation, and, like, I didn't even mention, like, manual terrain stuff, because the current terrain setters are bad, but, like, yeah, in Generation 7, like, they introduced the Tapus, and Tapu Koko and Tapu Fini were probably the 2 best Tapu, so, yeah, like, I think that in you know, in kind of, like, this current format where there's so much sleep counterplay, I don't think that having a, like, sure, you're going to fall asleep at times, like, everyone's going to fall asleep at times, but, there's so much counterplay to it that I personally don't think it's worth, like, I don't think it's as good as probably these 3. I might even take this over the Ally Switch one, but yeah, it's pretty close for me. Anyway, D tier, this is a bait. For me, at least personally, this one's a bait. This one's very kind of situational. If you're confident in your ability to get a language, you know, to like get the, to understand the language you get, or if you're confident in your luck and you just keep getting languages that you know or are adjacent, I think this is fine. But in general, I think this one's just a waste, and it's probably just going to waste your time figuring out the language. You know, this does have some advantages. For example, oh, never mind. I was gonna say, like, for example, on a day, like, if you make it through day 1 and you're playing in day 2 and it's like a top cut situation and you know your opponent's team, but I specified here that it's 5 minutes beforehand. 5 minutes isn't even that much time. So let's say it's not a language you speak, but it's a language you can, like, guesstimate, or you want to, like, Google Translate it. Then, you know, you have to get the sheet, you have to get the language, and then you have to, like, guesstimate, or you want to, like, Google Translate it. You have to get the sheet, you have to get the language, and then you have to, like, Google Translate it. You have to get the sheet, you have to get the language, and then you have to, like, Google Translate it. You have to get the sheet, you have to get the language, and then you have to, like, Google Translate it. You have to get the sheet, you have to get the language, and then you have to, like, Google Translate it. You have to get the sheet, you have to get the language, and then you have to, like, Google Translate it. You have to get the sheet, you have to get the language, and then you have to, like, Google Translate it. You have to get the sheet, you have to get the language, and then you have to, like, Google Translate it. You have to get the sheet, you have to get the language, and then you have to, like, Google Translate it. You have to get the sheet, you have to get the language, and then you have to, like, Google Translate it. You have to get the sheet, you have to get the langu your 5 minute starts now, right? And now you have to like start translating it, and even once you've translated it, like that's not necessarily enough time to build a game plan, you know. So I don't think this one's very good at all. I think it's an absolute bait. Even like if it was always in English, sure, I think this would probably be A or S tier, but it's not. Sorry, that was really not great. If it's always in a language you understand, for me, I'm thinking from my lens, if it was always in English, if I could say, okay, I'm always getting an English cheat sheet so I can understand it, then like then I think it would be much higher. But the fact that it's a random language, this is a bait. I thought it'd be too strong if we gave it like in the language you understand. But I think I made it too weak, so I don't know. I was just curious if people would pick it. And then last but not least, you can call in Ray Rizzo to coach you at any time, but he doesn't know any Pokemon after Gen 5. I think he doesn't know any Pokemon after Gen 5 is kind of a bait as well, because like he doesn't need, like, if you're there with him and he's like, hey, what's the keys? And you're like, oh, it's still fairy type. It's like has support moves. Like he can probably make a game plan off of that. So I think that this one's too much of a wild card. I'm gonna put it into the B tier because like this one's super situational, depending on like some people work better with coaching, but some people probably perform worse. Like for example, like having to explain things to Ray in your head. In my mind, this is like it's like Yu-Gi-Oh, where like there's the pharaoh inside of the main character. However, in this situation, like he doesn't take control of the body; he just like watches. So like you only have 45 seconds per turn. So I don't know how like good this is gonna be after like mid-tournament, but I still think that like depending on the player, it could be really good, and it also depends on like what mood Ray is in. I also don't know if this is like you have Ray that you can call in at any time, or like if you can kind of like drag him into like let's say he's like doing laundry, and then like you just like all of a sudden is like inside your brain, and he's like, oh, what, like, you know, I don't know like if it's like, or if you wake him up and you have to consider time zones, right? Like I don't know if it's like like an ethereal Ray or if it's like the actual thing, you know. So that also probably changes things, but in general, yeah, in general, I think this is a strong one. Like, this is a volatile one, and you know, I don't, like, there's a lot of uncertainty here, so I don't want to put it up too high, but for many people, this is probably an A tier pick, and if you chose this one, I 100% support you. Like, some of these pills, if you took, I'd be like, I think that was the wrong choice, but I would never feel that way about taking the black pill, so, yeah. Anyway, this is really fun. I hope you all enjoyed kind of this little thought experiment and my opinions on which ones are good. This isn't objective or anything, this is just this is the order probably in which I would pick them, not ordered within tiers. There's a couple other ones that I thought of, like, there was one for travel, like, you never have trouble getting to events, which I personally would have been biased towards, because I've had so much trouble getting to events over the years. What were the other ones? I just had, like, 3 in my head, and I forgot all of them. Wait, I'm gonna try and remember. We were talking about Ray. Oh, yeah, I don't remember. It's okay, yeah. But so if you enjoyed this kind of thing, let me know. I'd be down to do like more of them, kind of like come up with these hypothetical things. Because I also shout out to the Melee community for the original idea, because that was really cool. So, but yeah, I think it's fun. I hope you all enjoyed it, and let me know which pill you would take in the comments down below. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe, and I think that's it. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.